Oh my God. Wow. Whoa, what is this? Let me tell you what this is, folks. This is a rare and unusual species of silkmoth, and almost nothing is known about its life cycle. And today I'm going to be one of the first people to ever raise it in captivity. Maybe we can document its biology and early life stages. That would be awesome. I am going to try and breed it. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This orange, wonderful little creature that came from Mexico is a species of moth that has presumably never been bred or reared by anyone else before. I'm saying presumably because the taxonomical details are a bit complicated. However, let's not get ahead of time, shall we? If we manage to breed this species, this could be a first. I'll also give you some more information about its ecology and what makes it so complicated at the end of this video, as I usually do. Welcome to the newest episode of MothCycles. I've been making many episodes behind the scenes. It's my most popular web series. My show on YouTube where I show the life cycle of moths and butterflies, from egg to cocoon to fully grown moth, or butterfly in some cases. Let's start the intro. Oh, before we start, I should say one thing. I've obtained this species under a different name. Somebody sold me the eggs of this species under the name Copaxa lavendera, which is a totally, presumably, different species of moth from Mexico. But as I was raising the insect, I found out it was actually something different. Because of that, I may be misnaming it in some parts of the video because I didn't know. Let's start the intro. Copaxa parvohidalgensis. I have to prepare a new home, a new house, because we have new babies. Yeah, that's right. Sorry for misbehaving. I'm a grown adult man. I should not be acting this silly. I have no right, no license to be this silly. So here's the plastic containers we always use. Let's put a nice thick layer of paper towel on the bottom. That's what I like. Just a nice big layer to absorb any excess moisture. Makes it easy to clean also. And here I have oak tree in a water bottle. The water bottle looks a bit dirty because it's been outside, but there's bleached water, so no chance of bacteria. This is fresh oak tree, quercus. Place it inside. There we go. But what's the ruckus? What's the commotion here? What's happening? Well, I have eggs of a really special silk moth from Mexico. It's called Copaxa lavandera, and not many people even know it exists in the first place, so I'm gonna show you this beautiful insect. First of all, we see a lot of creamy white eggs. These eggs hatch in about 2 weeks on room temperature, but sitting here in the corner is a bunch of lonely, hungry, starving little caterpillars. They are waiting to find food, so I should hurry up and place them in their new enclosure where they will start eating. Alright people, here are some of the caterpillars. Just a few of them. Here's some of the first ones who came out. Whoa, strong wind. Put the lid on for now. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Expect more of them to come out, hopefully. But yeah, this is it at the moment, and I really hope that they will thrive. So cool, eh? Such little weirdos. That's the start of something, isn't it? Very interesting. And then I checked back a few days later. Guys, so a few days later you have to wonder, how is Copaxa doing? Oh, interesting. It's interesting because this is just a silk moth that not many people raise at all. Most of my viewers will be ignorant about this species. Go away, fly. You notice that they have eaten the oak tree severely and it has dried out. Probably has to be replaced soon with fresh leaf. But if we zoom in, we see what? Some of them are already the second instar. Are you kidding? So those really crazy spiny caterpillars on the bottom, those are instar 2s, believe it or not. And the orange ones on top are instar 1. Wow, they grow really fast. I don't think I've seen much silk moths in my life who grow this fast. Let's take out the oak tree very carefully, very gently. Oh yeah, it's brown, it's old, it needs to be replaced with fresh plant very soon, basically ASAP. However, we do see a lot of caterpillars and that makes me happy. Yeah, this is instar 2. Instar 2 is spiky and colorful. Really amazing. And the orange here, this is instar 1. So not all of them are in the second life stage. Yeah, there's a lot of caterpillars here, guys. That's great. That's fantastic progress, really. I'm really happy with this. Whoa. Super nice. Some of these are already instar 2. I wasn't even able to film the development. They just grew that incredibly quickly. They seem to be doing quite well on oak tree now. Let's put you silly guys back for a minute. I think tonight I'm gonna get some fresh oak, because this plant is too old and tough and chewy. They need some fresh leaves, but that's it for now. Eventually the caterpillars needed a bigger box. Really, you have to keep the size of the container appropriate to the size of the caterpillar, so I had to upgrade them after a while. Let me show you how I put them in a bigger box. And they have graduated from the small box to the big box. Yeah, this is a big box with oak tree. Just gonna put them in here and hope they start eating the fresh leaves right away. There you go, guys. Enjoy your new enclosure, your new home. They grow really, really fast. Some shedded to the third instar without me able being to catch up. Whew. Welly, welly, well. In the third instar they became green. It's to be expected. A lot of the caterpillars are simply green. It's one of the best camouflage colors after all. This species seems to grow so fast that every time I make a video update they're already in the next instar. It's kinda crazy if you ask me. That made it very difficult to make this video because I was also very busy with work during the production of this video. Well, that's it so far. Let's close the box and hope they'll do well from now on. Would be nice if they did. It's a special species. You don't see these in captivity very often. So, it's not a very rare species, but it's like one of those weird, uncommon species that not a lot of people breed. But yeah, I'm happy with the progress. Unfortunately, I did have a strange issue with some caterpillars growing really fast, while others of them stayed smaller. It's very unusual. It can happen sometimes with moths and butterflies in captivity for complicated reasons. It's not always a good sign, but oh well. Copaxa breeding tip. Check up on them very often. Because these caterpillars can grow very fast, and if you don't check up on them you may miss an instar. So let me show you how they are doing now. Now this is a species that likes humidity, so I like to spray them sometimes. But if you spray them, make sure the water can evaporate and that they aren't wet all day. See? Spraying water. So they can have something to drink. There you go. Now let me show you the larvae. Very interesting. The posture of the larvae kind of reminds me of the African moon moth somehow, even though that's a totally different species. But I guess in all Saturnids you can find similarities if you're looking for it, because it's all the same family of moths. But yeah, the Copaxa. One other thing I noticed is not all the larvae are growing with the same speed. Some of them are left behind and are smaller. These are some of my biggest larvae right now. Let me see if I can get... Oh, that's a nice close-up. And what's really cool is they have these strange sensory hairs. See that? On their backs. It's actually kind of cool, really. I've raised a lot of Saturnid larvae in my life. And these are kind of unique, except if you realize that many other Copaxa species look similar to these, I suppose. If I succeed, it's going to be the first episode of MothCycles that features a Copaxa species. It was about time, honestly. Actually, in my life I've raised Copaxa many times, I just never really bothered to make an episode of it, because these episodes take a lot of time to produce. So I have to be selective in what species I film the life cycle of. I cannot do it with all the species at the same time, it's too much work. Now here are some of the younger larvae. These are in, I think most of these are instar 3 to early instar 4. Can you see that? So that's interesting. If you look at their size, there is a difference in the size of some of the larvae. I'm not so sure why. Because if we zoom out, you can immediately see there's a bigger caterpillar here. And just compare the size of these yellow ones with the big green one. So it does seem some of the caterpillars are growing a lot faster than some of their brothers and sisters. And I am not so sure why, but it's okay. None of them have died so far actually, so maybe they will catch up. Now this larva down here is probably one of our biggest ones right now. And interesting to note is that it's ready to molt to the final instar. This is like, I think, a fully grown 4th instar, 4 out of 5. So soon it's going to be 5 out of 5. It went really fast. So I think the eggs hatched about two weeks ago. And one of the first larvae is all about to enter the final instar. I think I can get them all to cocoons maybe in 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks maybe. That's insanely fast. These Copaxa can be very fast growing in the optimal circumstances. Let's see if there's more larvae. Aha! Here's another one hidden in the vegetation. We actually have a decent number of them. I think we have maybe 20 larvae. Oh, there you go. This must be an earlier life stage. I think this must be an instar 3. They're quite colorful. See those nice blue setae on its body? So that's interesting. Now the thing about Copaxa when you breed them is Copaxa are either the easiest moths that you ever raised or they are the hardest moths that you ever raised. I don't know what makes the difference, but it's really hard to generalize them. Some Copaxa species are so hard they are almost impossible to raise, while others are childishly easy. They could be beginner species. I would say Copaxa lavandera, the species I'm rearing today, is actually one of the easier ones. So far it has been no effort, really. Effortless. It feels like raising Antherea. Oh, here's more larvae. So we have a decent numbers, can you see that? So if we just pull some vegetation away, it reveals many. There you go, camera. So let's just awkwardly do this. This is annoying. Can you see it? Lots of caterpillars down here in the vegetation in it. So yeah, we have good numbers. Well, that's promising so far, but it's just the start. Let me show you what happened next. Well, there you go, people. This species is just one of those species that you may never ever have heard of before. But that's what me and my channel is about, with the sexy moth king himself. I like to come up with crazy species to breed for YouTube to shock and surprise my viewers. That being said, if you've paid attention to my other videos, you have seen Copaxa a few times before. Notably, I have videos on YouTube where I go moth trapping in South America, in Brazil. And in those videos, Copaxa often make a guest appearance because they can be common in South and Central America. So I also have really old footage on my channel of species that I raised, but that's so old I don't think people watch that anymore. But otherwise, unless you are crazy about silk moths like I am and read all about every species that you can find online, there's a chance you are ignorant about their existence. So consider yourself to be educated and enjoy the life cycle. They're going to be beautiful if we pull this off. It's a really pretty species. Unfortunately, the problem I had with runts, a runt is basically a smaller or weaker individual that struggles to gain size. The issue I had with runts persisted, unfortunately. And it seems that towards the end of the rearing I did have many small caterpillars that kind of seemed to struggle and catch up in size. Welcome back. There's another update for Copaxa. Some of my caterpillars are now in the final life stage, but I have some concerns because I think some of them are not going to make it. You see, some of my caterpillars, they struggle to grow in size for some reason, and it doesn't make sense. Let me show you. This is the final instar, the final life stage. It's very special looking. The color is almost blue. So that's the good news. The good news is most of the caterpillars have reached the final life stage. And now they only need 1 or 2 more weeks before they make cocoons. So this is the positive part, this is the good part, right? Very beautiful. Wow, the color is really cool. They're really bluish. And if we look here in the vegetation, we see more of them. So far I don't have any reasons to complain, right? Well, my concern are these small caterpillars here. Like, guys, look at the difference in size between these two caterpillars. Like this small one and this big one. This is not good. I'm not sure why, but some of the caterpillars, they just struggle to grow. Now guys, anybody who breeds moths can tell you it's normal that not all your caterpillars grow at the same speed. It's perfectly normal. It happens in nature too, that you get like runts, the small ones who struggle to grow. But this is a little bit extreme, and I fear it could be a genetic problem. Maybe some of my caterpillars are just not very strong. I think the smallest ones are not gonna survive, because some of them are already the final instar and about to make cocoons, while others are just stuck in the 3rd life stage. It makes no sense. It's possible that those are gonna die, but we will see. Here we can see it as well. Bunch of really big caterpillars surrounded by small ones. It's a bit strange, and this time it's not my fault as a breeder. Because if the conditions weren't good enough, the big ones wouldn't be able to grow this big. It's their brothers and sisters who are struggling. So yeah, it's kind of strange. And I wonder if most of these are going to make it. It's not my fault. I think maybe some of them are just genetically weak. It happens. So. On YouTube there are many content creators that make content about butterflies and moths. I guess I am one of them. But me and my channel are different from anyone else. I'm not only filming insects for the views, for the followers and subscribers. I'm also doing it to document new life cycles that are new to science. You see, some of these species of moths or butterflies and how they develop and their larval stages can be unknown to science. And by breeding them in captivity, I'm able to document it. This helps their conservation and our knowledge of these species. I even have a website about these animals where I write articles and document many life cycles. I'll quickly show you a QR code to my website so you can tell that I am not bluffing, guys. I am serious. Scan it if you like and go take a look at it. I'd appreciate it. This channel supports insects and their conservation. Copaxa parvohidalgensis is a species not many people have ever raised, and this is the first video on the internet showing their complete life cycle. In fact, it is one of the first documented instances of their life cycle being recorded in general. Although the taxonomic status of the moth could leave us with some questions, but more about that later. The Copaxa are almost fully grown. And today I want to show you how they are doing. Now I added some evergreen oak tree to their diet. They think this is Quercus suber. I like it because it doesn't dry out very fast. It's evergreen. And they seem to like it, so why not? They don't seem to discriminate that much so far between the species of oak tree that I'm feeding them. I just like to use the convenient species that I don't have to replace very often. Now guys, this is a medium-sized Saturnid moth. So I don't think the caterpillars are going to be significantly bigger than this. I think this is about the final size, really. And I think maybe in a week or so the first ones should make cocoons. We still do have some smaller ones. Hopefully they are going to catch up soon. I think so. I don't like these runts. They make me a bit nervous. Because I'm constantly thinking, will they survive? Will they survive? Are they gonna be sick? And if they're gonna be sick, it's a problem because it can make the other larvae sick if it's infectious. just because I kept some of the weaker ones alive. But so far so good. I can say this though, the caterpillars of these Copaxas are quite wonderful. They remind me of a crazy mix of the caterpillars of moon moths, Anterea moths and Saturnia, which is on brand because they are a relative of all of those, so that makes total sense, but it's just they're really cool looking. Notice how subtly it has like these red spines, these red spikes on its back. The bluish body and these silly hairs. That's kind of cool, eh? Let's admire them because soon they will be cocoons, I think. I'd say this. What an unusual color. The almost bluish, mint green, cyan, blue green, what the heck. I don't know what to call this color, but it does make the caterpillars very unique. I've raised many emperor moths and silk moths in my life, but this is the first time I've seen one with this particular shade and color. We're slowly getting there. We're slowly getting there. I need to do something about my hair, don't I? What the hell is this haircut? Imagine my shock when I noticed something. Spoiler alert, it's Cocoons. Yeah, I spoiled it. I don't care. I mean, what else is it that we were waiting for, right? We are raising them to find cocoons. So, soon will be time to harvest them. Not yet, but soon. So if we zoom in here, we see that between the leaves, some places a bunch of silk has been formed. This is because here in the oak tree, a larvae has spun a cocoon. Well, is that not fantastic? If we move the camera a little, there you go. Here it is, another cocoon in the back. It's sitting here really loosely. I think the larva has already pupated inside really quickly. Usually that takes them a few weeks, I guess not with this species. So here you can see what a cocoon of Copaxa looks like. Actually, I'm not sure if the larva pupated. No, not yet. It is egg-shaped, it's transparent. This is true for most species of Copaxa actually. Now as you can see, some of the caterpillars are still feeding. Let me show you them one more time, it's the last opportunity to show you them. This is basically them finishing. So this is the fully grown size of Copaxa lavandera. Very unusual silk moth, not many people raise it ever. So that's cool, eh? And this species has really been different from all the other moths I raised because the larvae are so blue looking, it's very strange. Like this blue color, this blue shade they have, it's hard for me to get over it. It's quite unique, it's very unusual. Huh? I've raised many caterpillars in my life. Probably more than anybody on YouTube right now. So, by a long shot. And you've seen the videos if you're a fan. And we see the cool colors that caterpillars can have. Sometimes they can be yellow, they can be red. We've raised orange caterpillars, but a kind of blue one. It's new. Like, let's be honest guys, this is blue, this is not green, this is a blue larva. Let's be real here, let's not lie. This is blue, isn't it? Yeah. And the larvae have very strong similarities to moths of the genus Antherea. Where if I saw this in the wild, of course I would know it's Copaxa or Antherea. Of course in South America I know all the species of Antherea and their larvae, so I wouldn't be confused. But I'm just pointing out the similarity is very strong. And I'm pretty sure that Antherea and Copaxa are two very related genera, which is the plural of genus. Yeah, I'm throwing Harry Potter spells, guys. If you're not into taxonomy, you probably have no clue what I'm saying right now. And if we look further, yeah, there's more larvae. Some of them still eating. But most of them are cocooning. As you can see in here, if I pull the leaf away, there's another cocoon forming here. Can you see it? Here. In the young oak tree leaf. There you go. A lovely cocoon. So, that's good, eh? It means this part of the rearing is almost finished, and hopefully we get to see beautiful moths soon. I see that here in the back. Something here is also spinning at the base. It's looking good. This poor guy over here is definitely a whole instar behind though. He has to hurry up if he wants to catch up with his mates. Otherwise he's gonna take much more time than his peers. Like I've said before, some of the larvae were more slow growing. Strange. Almost finished. Eventually, I'm so sick of leaf blowers, guys. I am sick of them. They are so extremely wasteful and bad for the environment. Hope you guys don't use leaf blowers. And anyway, guys, eventually the caterpillars did what any silk moth does. They cocooned. They seem to prefer eating evergreen oak tree by far, when given a selection of 2 different oak tree species. Seriously, they don't stop. All this noise for a few dead leaves, come on. All this burnt gasoline and fuel for a few leaves, come on. Anyways, eventually the caterpillar spun a number of cocoons. I think I had a dozen of cocoons or so. But during the production of this video I ran into some trouble. I was very busy with work. Yeah, you'd be surprised. I still work. I still have a job. I don't post moths on YouTube all day. Sometimes I have to work. But because of this job that I have, it was very difficult to keep up with the moths and show you all the process. I'm sorry. But you've seen the cocoons. I incubated the cocoons indoors. I guess we're going to jump from a scene with cocoons to the moths hatching. Here in the evergreen oak tree, we also see a bunch of cocoons here that are hidden in the leaves, so you have to be careful. If you throw away any leaves, make sure you are not actually throwing away the cocoons that you worked for. Here's another example. See this? If we pull back these leaves, there is a cocoon inside of it, hidden. Pull it out. There you go. Let's take this cocoon. There's more of them. Right. Guys, I have to admit, I'm a little bit disappointed. You see, I had like 12 caterpillars, fully grown, but I only ended up with 6 cocoons. Why is that? Well, at the end I started having losses, I'm not sure why. The caterpillars did perfectly fine, but in the final instar a few days ago, a few of them suddenly died. I'm not so sure why, maybe they were sick. It happens sometimes. So that's disappointing. I would have liked to have 12 cocoons, not 6 cocoons. This is not a good number. But the thing is, with a little bit of luck, these cocoons may contain a male and a female. And if they procreate, we will have hundreds of babies. So there is still a chance that we can do breeding, even with a small amount of cocoons like 6. It's much more unlikely. I do have a 7th larva. This is caterpillar number 7. And I did say earlier in this video I was concerned, do you remember? I was concerned for the health of the caterpillars because some of them stayed very small. Some of them didn't grow very fast, unlike their peers. And I think it's because of that I had losses. I think some of the caterpillars, they just seemed a bit weaker. So we have 6 cocoons and potentially 7 if this larva makes a cocoon. But I don't think it will because it's just instar number 4. The rest already went through 5 instars and cocooned, and this one is stuck in instar 4. It's another example of a weak larva, a weak caterpillar. It happens. Maybe genetically the eggs were not as healthy and strong. I don't know. But we're gonna give it a try anyway. Enclosure for cocoons of several species. I have some really rare ones, including this Anthrea montezuma from Mexico. It's one of the rarest species I've raised in captivity since recently. But this one is for another video, so don't worry. It is beautiful though. Take a quick look. Ooh. As you can see, I have a lot of species from Mexico since recently. So the 6 cocoons that we have, let's place them in here, keep them warm, keep them moist, and maybe the 6 freaking moths that will emerge from them, if we're lucky, we may still have a mating, you never know. Anyway, the first moth came out and it turns out that it was a male. My god, ladies and gentlemen. I think we can all agree that this species is incredibly beautiful. Here we have the male of Copaxa parvohidalgensis. Oh my god. Wow. 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 I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, the jury is out. One of my moths came out of its cocoon and something cool happened. You see, I've been in touch with the person who supplied me these insects. And they told me that this is a species that really hasn't been in the hobby before. I have mistakenly assumed from the start that this is Copaxa lavandera, but this was wrong, it was a mistake. It is actually something called Copaxa parvohidalgensis, which looks very similar to Copaxa, but one of the biggest differences is the blue larva. And I already mentioned before in this video that I found the larvae to be quite suspicious because they were so different from the lavandera that I had usually raised. So you know what? My gut instinct was correct. Once again I was right when I said, this is suspicious. This doesn't really look like the species I ordered. And it's a beautiful male. Now these moths can have many color forms. This is the orange form. But with some luck, maybe we will have more individuals with different color forms too. It's absolutely gorgeous. Copaxa parvohidalgensis, remember the name? A sister species of Copaxa lavandera, but there are some differences. Larvae look different, the adults look slightly different too. So what are the differences? I will explain that later in this video. And maybe we can actually breed the actual Copaxa lavandera one day, so that we can compare the two. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I believe this is our first MothCycles episode about a Copaxa species, isn't it? That's funny because I've raised many species of Copaxa before in captivity, but I've never made MothCycle episode about them. Thing is, I don't have the time to make a MothCycles episode about every species that I breed in captivity. I wish I could. These episodes take a lot of time. But we're gonna take some extra time to admire it because, well, first MothCycles about Copaxa. Copaxa are funny moths. They are found in Central and South America, where they are quite common. There's many species of them. I'm not sure how many species actually. I forgot. I think there must be at least 40 or 50, maybe 60 species of them. I remember when I worked in Brazil and I was studying moths in the rainforest, I would often find different species of Copaxa. And what's cool, it has cool eye spots that it's not showing right now, but if you poke it, yeah, sorry for poking it, it's just to show the cool eye spots, then you can see them. So you can see these moths are sort of affiliated with the genus Antherea, if you know what that means. If you don't, well, then you gotta watch more of my videos. You can see the similarity. Honestly, they're really beautiful. So I was told when I received the eggs of these moths that, oh, this is Copaxa lavandera. And Copaxa lavandera is a species I raised before in the past. I did not expect to have a species that almost nobody has ever reared in captivity before. And that's because in Mexico, where the eggs came from, there's a lot of endemic species. Some of them are still being discovered, you know, there's still a lot of new species to science being found in Mexico all the time. And in one province and on one mountaintop you can just have a different species that looks similar to another species that's found in another province or in another mountain. But both of them are distinct. I think Mexico is one of those countries that has a high amount of endemism. You know, there's a lot of silk moths that are only found in Mexico and nowhere else. Mexico is really a fascinating and beautiful country. I would like to visit it. Anyway, so this is the male. I'm hoping that soon we get the female. I will probably have to change the title of this video in the description because I was like, oh, this is Copaxa lavandera. I was wrong. It's an amazing moth. My gosh, what a cutie wooty wooty. Cutie wooty woo 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 woo. Oh, it tickles. It tickles. Ah! But no, seriously, I'm very happy. This is so beautiful. I love it. But we only have one male. I'm really hoping soon we will get a female. The female has a totally different color than the males. This is normal for a lot of Copaxa species. And on top of that, it would enable us to breed the species in captivity, of course. That would be great. I would love that, but we needed to have a little bit of luck to have a male and female at the same time. So cool, isn't it? So awesome. Insane how beautiful it really is. I love moths. They are so artsy. Such complex, awesome color patterns. That's great. I am going to put it away now. This is an enclosure for moths. You've seen these enclosures a lot on my channel. It's called a pop-up cage. I'm gonna place the moth in here. Sadly, these moths only live for maybe 7 to 10 days. So if there's gonna be a female, she has to hurry up right now, otherwise it's not gonna happen. And ladies and gentlemen, another moth has come out. Oh, it's another male. Too bad. Wow, folks, here we go. We have another one. You have to be careful. That it's shivering means it wants to fly away, and I don't want it to escape. This is our second male, so now we have two of these amazing beauties. But then a new couple came out. Yes, a male and a female at the same time, born on the same day. Well, I was super lucky. I was over the moon. Let me show you these beauties. The moth cage, as you can see, it's full of moths, but we're gonna ignore them in favor for two moths that came out today. Oh my gosh, what is this? We have to be real careful. Oh my gosh. We have a fresh male and a female. This is the luckiest day of my life. Oh my god, the female is so beautiful. Wow, guys. This species is amazing. Oh my god, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my god. All I can do is gasp loudly and audibly. Wow. What I'm about to say may sound disturbing or morbid, but moths are pretty much one of my only reasons to live. But for me they are a good motivation to stay alive. I'm not even joking, this is not ironic. I devoted my whole life to this because this is the main thing I really care about. And I have to say, this species has made my day, it has made my week, it has made my year. It is ostensibly one of the most species I have recently reared. Now, we've already seen these orange males before, but what's quite new is this female. Females are bright yellow, super colorful. Wow! What an incredible species! And we had one couple coming out at the same time, at the same day. So I would like to give some special attention to this female who just came out today. And that's quite simply because I've already shown you the male several times in this video. You already know what they look like. But the female is new. She just came out. And in fact, it's the first time I'm seeing a female of this species. And she's absolutely gorgeous. It's probably one of the most beautiful silk moths that I raised this year. The colors on her are very vibrant and bright. She reminds me of the genus Antheia very strongly. Wow. Now, Copaxa species are species that I have raised several times, but I think it's the first time we're doing it in an episode of MothCycles, so that's good. Typically, wild Copaxa feed on the Lauraceae family. In the wild, they often feed on Persea or avocado, or their relatives from the laurel family. But in Central America and such, there's also a number of species who feed on other plants, in some cases even oak tree and willow. That makes breeding in Europe even easier. Usually you have to breed them on stuff like sweet gum or avocado or laurel. But this species can be raised on very simple plants like quercus, oak tree. She's absolutely gorgeous, what a stunner. Look at those beautiful wings, wow. I really love it. She is really precious. And amazing and adorable. Wow. And today is another one of such cases. And today is another one of those days that I have to tell a story about how I managed to misidentify a moth. So, I'm wondering how many people watch my channel who are knowledgeable about the emperor moth, the Saturnidae. Most people would identify this insect as a silk moth. This is a rare silk moth from Mexico. It was sold to me under the name Copaxa lavendera. But it turns out This species that is from Mexico has a very complicated story, you see. Well, first of all, it is absolutely beautiful. But second of all, Mexico is quickly becoming one of my favorite countries when it comes to entomology, because there's many strange, similar looking species who have yet to be identified and investigated by biologists and entomologists. And it turns out that this moth right here is actually a rare cousin species of the Copaxa lavandera. This is known as Copaxa parvohidalgensis. I don't even know how to properly pronounce it. And this amazing species of silk moth has rarely been raised in captivity. So, today I'm gonna show you how. Let's start the intro. Mexico. When I say Mexico, people think of stereotypical things like sombreros, or nachos, or the chupacabra. But this is not entirely correct. Sometimes people also think of negative things, such as the cartel. But what I associate Mexico with is its amazing and beautiful environment. Mexico has really underrated nature that I think people don't give it enough credit for. It has a lot of opportunity to discover new things. And today I'm going to tell you a story about a rare moth from Mexico. What is this? This, my friends, is a moth that I obtained from Mexico, and its name is Copaxa parvohidalgensis. Wow, it's absolutely beautiful, but there's a special story behind this insect. You see, there's actually several species who look like this, but are different species. For example, when I obtained this species, I was under the impression it was another insect called Copaxa lavandera. And if you look very closely, Copaxa lavandera looks almost identical to this species, Copaxa parvohidalgensis. Well, if you're watching the video so far, you're probably already confused. What the hell, Bart? This intro raises more questions than it answers. These questions cannot be answered in an intro, because today I'm going to tell you an entomological story about a rare insect, an unusual insect, an insect that has hardly been raised in captivity by anyone, but also an insect that has many similar looking species that are hard to identify because they all look similar to each other. To tell you the full story though, we have to start the intro of this brand new, fresh episode of MothCycles. MothCycles is my online web series in which we raise moths together from egg to fully grown insect. I'm thinking it's time to start the intro. How? Knowing these two insects are literally the same species to me is always such a freaky feeling. They look so different. And let me tell you guys, Copaxa are some of my favorite silk moths. Even though good species of Copaxa can be hard to obtain in captivity, there's many of them in really crazy colors. There's even red ones and pink ones, even though most of them are just gray or brown. There's yellow, red, orange, pinkish. Yeah, I've seen Copaxa in really crazy colors sometimes. And here's a good example of that. What an amazing species! I love it. So what do we do next? Well, first we're gonna stare at their beauty for just a few seconds. Let's give you 15 seconds to stare at them. 14, 13, 12, 10, 11. Oh, did you catch that? I didn't count properly. It's not like I can't count or anything. I'm doing it to troll you. I'm not stupid. Actually, that's not true. I am stupid. 10, 9, 8, 7. So the reason males and females of some moths look completely and radically different is because they have different roles. The males have to fly very far to find the females. It's their job to fly and locate a wife for themselves. Females don't have to do much, they just have to sit still until the male arrives. And only if the male arrives, only then they will have to fly a little bit to locate a host plant. Females tend to be usually a bit more camouflaged, but they are also heavier because they are loaded with eggs. Males have to be more agile, you know, and aerodynamic, because they do all the flying. Anyway, the count is messed up. 5, 4, 3, 2, yeah, it's over. Worst count on YouTube. So what to do next? Let me show you. Next is you place them in an enclosure. Here's your last chance to stare at them. I'm gonna place them in this cage before they escape. There you go. Whee! Go inside. It's summer, it's very warm, and there is no rain predicted for tonight. So I'm gonna place these moths in their enclosure. Can you see them? It's a bit of a dirty old enclosure, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna place them outdoors. Just like that. It's an exotic species from Mexico, but they can actually pair outdoors in the Netherlands in summer weather. Don't worry guys, they are quarantined and isolated. Don't worry about any risk of introductions. It's not a species that can survive in our climate, but first of all it's impossible for them to escape. Just protect them from storms or harsh weather or winds. But tonight is going to be a gentle night. So I'm practically confident enough to leave them here. Let's check back tomorrow and give them some quiet. Now guys, I did not see any matings for two reasons. First of all, I was busy with work. And these moths, they mate in the middle of the night when it's completely dark. And if I have a job, if I have work to do, I don't have the time to sit there at 4 o'clock in the middle of the night to observe if my moths are having sex. I have to pay the bills. But because of that, I was unable to document a pairing. But this is actually a common phenomenon with Saturniidae silk moths. Sometimes the mating can also last for a short time, 1 hour, 30 minutes. And if you are not there to observe it, then you can miss it. Some species even pair for like 15 or 10 minutes, and it's very hard to see it happening in front of your own eyes. So the moths are just in one enclosure and suddenly they make fertile eggs. What I do is I keep the eggs, I incubate them to see if they are fertile or not, to see if a next generation will hatch. And this is a concept I call silent pairings. Silent pairings. Silent pairings are basically when the moths mate, but it's very hard to observe it for some reason. Not every species stay together neatly until the next morning. Sometimes the male leaves the female and you have no clue that fertilization happened. Now something has changed on my channel, guys. Something big, fundamental has changed. I used to check every day at night if my silk moths have paired. Sometimes it's possible to see them pairing because the male and female will be attached together by the abdomen. And in my older videos you can see that I film all the pairings of my silk moths. However, nowadays this became impossible because I have a job nowadays. I work many days per week. And I have to go to sleep early because I have to get out of bed like at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to my freaking work. I work at a facility that breeds insects for biocontrol. Anyway. But it means I'm gonna miss out on pairings. I don't have the time to check at night if they are pairing anymore. At least not this summer. So I'm just going to collect the eggs. And I hope that they are fertile. It's actually impossible to tell if the eggs are fertile. What you do is you just collect them in a petri dish and you hope and pray after 2 weeks that little caterpillars come out. So let me take the cam, just flip the cam around. Already started collecting some eggs. Let's see how they are doing, the moths. So the female, she is 3 days older now. And well, you can see that over time they become more damaged. That's normal. It happens with almost any moth, both in the wild and in captivity, so it's not my fault. And these moths, they only live for about a week anyway, so I'm confident in saying she's nearing the end of her life already. Oops. The males still look in a good condition, even though he damaged some of his wingtips. Still looking kind of fresh. I'm hoping they have mated. Yeah, you are beautiful, man. Wow, this species is one of the most beautiful I raised this year, I think. It's gorgeous. Anyway, the eggs. So the eggs of Copaxa are very strange. As you can see, they are very oval. They remind me of a disc. They remind me of little pizzas. And they tend to have like one creamy band that runs around like the circumference of the egg. But on top and bottom they are just kind of brownish. So I'm gonna place this in a petri dish. Just gonna collect those moth eggs. Oh, you're eager. You are eager. Oh, careful, don't escape. Okay, that's a decent amount of eggs laid by one female. I'd say this is on the high end. So what you do is you take a petri dish and you put the eggs indoors on room temp and you wait about 2 weeks. Shall incubate them indoors around room temperature. That's it really. Now we just wait. It's a mess here, I should clean it up. Now this is my moth breeding cage, as you can see. Here's all my pupa and cocoons. This is a death's head hog moth. They are emerging from the cocoons. Hope this is not too distracting to show you another species. Whoa! On another note, this is my moth breeding cage. This is a death's head hog moth. I breed those as well. Hope it's not too distracting to show you another species during the life cycle of one species. This is the famous moth from Silence of the Lambs, the death's head hog moth. They can squeak. So this is the cage where I put my cocoons, my pupa. It doesn't hurt to take a quick look, although I don't want to distract too much from the life cycle. Yeah, they're really crazy animals. Here's all the pupa and cocoons I have. There's other hog moths coming out here as well. Look, this is a beautiful one with red hind wings. Yo, I'm always breeding many species. Amazing, isn't it? But what I really want to show is that another Copaxa has come out today. And it's another male. And he's very wild and untamed. Whoa. These species can go crazy if you touch them. So be careful, they can escape and fly away very easily. It's very hard to film them and handle them. And then a lot of the moths died of old age, which I was not able to film because I was working. Yeah, but I did show you a nice couple of them, didn't I? Sorry for not being able to film every individual moth. I usually do that, but I just couldn't make it. Now guys, I put the moths together in one enclosure and they mated. But I had to work all summer, so I had no time to monitor if they were mating or what was happening. In fact, a lot of the moths emerged, but I was so overworked and stressed I didn't have time to film it. But ladies and gentlemen, I have some good news. The male and female that I kept together in one enclosure, they must have mated. Even though I did not film the matings and I did not observe the matings and I had no clue if they have mated. I was smart enough to keep the eggs. And after a few weeks the eggs hatched. The eggs emerged. So I had babies. And for that I was very excited because it means another episode of MothCycles for you on YouTube. I only upload MothCycles if I at least complete the life cycle. From egg to moth. But egg to egg is even better. So yeah, let me show you the babies. Today I had to add some oak tree to the petri dish because like within a week babies were already coming out. Let me show y'all. In the Netherlands it has been like extremely hot. And because of the high temperatures the eggs are hatching faster than normal. So in record time I had baby caterpillars coming out of the eggs. Can you see that? Here's the next generation of Copaxas. Don't know if I'm gonna rear them as well in this video. We already did a life cycle. I'm not sure if doing 2 will add much of value. Quickly added some leaves because they were really hungry. So as you can see, there's already several caterpillars. I'm gonna take them out actually. I'm gonna take them out, place them in a new enclosure where they will be safe and quarantined. And we're gonna do it again on oak tree. There you go. So I found out this species likes evergreen oak tree. I learned from this experience. I'm also gonna add from the beginning some evergreen oak. See if they will eat this as well. At this point the video is pretty much over, but it's a rare species and I don't think it's ever going to be in the hobby ever again. It's also the first time it has been raised. So I decided to raise the offspring as well. You know, the second generation. They're doing well on oak tree, as you can see. Don't laugh at this crazy setup, guys. It works, trust me, as weird as it is. There you go. And if we here look in the leaves, we see many small Copaxas. See that? These are more caterpillars of the second generation. They seem to prefer eating the young shoots, which could be more nutritious. As you can see here, if we zoom in, yeah, baby, that's a lot of Copaxa. I think these are already instar 2. Some of them are about to grow into instar 3. Usually I don't do a second life cycle in MothCycles. MothCycles is my online web series in which we raise moths from egg to adult and we complete the life cycle. I am rarely known for doing 2 life cycles, but here we are. Today we are doing it. It's because this species is just very rare. No one else has it. Copaxa parvohidalgensis. I'm pretty sure I'm one of the only people breeding it at the moment. I may share some of the eggs with other people to spread them in the hobby. But once again, I was one of the first. Here you go. Look at those. Adorable. Adorable caterpillars. Seem to grow well on evergreen oak tree. That's great. There's many species of evergreen oak. You can use Quercus ilex or Quercus suber. And yes guys, in all honesty, it would be nice if we got some extra cocoons, right? It was a really beautiful species. And to have more of the beautiful adults to film would be great, in my opinion. But during the production of this particular video in summer, I was exceptionally and painfully busy. Yeah, I need to have part-time jobs to sustain myself, pay the bills and fund my hobby. And the problem really is that making these kind of videos is super time consuming. It absorbs a lot of my free time, really. And that's one of the major issues that I have. It's difficult because I am usually in MothCycles, this online web series. I'm very perfectionist, I'm very artistic about filming every individual. Like, I like to try and film when I raise caterpillars. I like to show you every single moth that I've raised, right? When all the caterpillars transform, when they grow into cocoons. I like to show you how many moths I managed to grow from that. Just to keep a detailed and clear and concise record of what I have been doing. But I failed. I was still busy with life behind the scenes, with having to work and other obligations. And because of that, I like to say sorry guys. I didn't manage to film all the moths that I raised. It's very painful. Especially when you put so much time in a video of me raising a rare species, but it was too much. I couldn't handle working also studying part-time environmental science, having a job, and making this video in summer. It's just... we have the full life cycle. We sell the eggs, the caterpillars, the cocoons, the moths. But I do regret the fact that I raised like a dozen of moths and I only managed to show you 2 or 3 of them. That's really painful. Anyway, what matters the most is that in the end the life cycle was completed, I guess. And with that we can be happy. Let's show you that. MothCycles is an educational web series where I don't just show you how to raise particular species, but I also like to talk about their biology and ecology. Because I think it's shallow and I think it's a waste to just stare at videos or pictures of cool species without learning about them. What's the point? I'm here to educate you. So let me tell you about the rare species we raised today, Copaxa parvohidalgensis. Aha! Today we are going to talk about a moth that is a bit of a mystery. Not much is known about it. And the taxonomic status of it in the first place may be a bit on shaky ground. Usually I have a lot of information to share about the moths that I cover in my videos, but today the information is a little bit disappointingly lacking. Well, why, you ask? Well, that's because there is very little available. This is one of those species we really don't know much about at all. Let me share with you what I have found at least. But first I want to talk about a different species. This right here is Copaxa lavandera. Trust me, I know this is confusing, but it's gonna make sense in the end. Really. So previously, Copaxa lavandera was a widespread species of silk moth that was found from Mexico to Nicaragua. Copaxa lavandera is known to feed on Lauracea species such as Persea in the wild. But in captivity they are shown to feed on oak tree as well, and sometimes even sweet gum or willow. Generally speaking, a lot is or was known about this somewhat common Central American species. But that is until things changed. You see, scientists used DNA barcode sampling and found out that the sequence of some of the populations diverged. And instead of one, it is now a complex of at least 5 different species. It is not known if these new species will survive the test of time, as taxonomy is ever changing. It was also described by Brechlin and Meister, 2 controversial entomologists that are known for naming a lot of junk species. This further complicates the question. Some of the new resulting species are Copaxa lavandera, Copaxa lavandero guatemalensis, Copaxa lavandero hidalgensis, Copaxa lavandero jaliscensis, and Copaxa parvohidalgensis. Mostly from Alta Verapaz in Guatemala, in high elevations. The distance from the intersection of the postmedial line with the inner margin is greater from the inal angle in Lavandero guatemalensis than in Lavandera. The forewing ocellus is larger and more round in Lavandero guatemalensis than it is in Lavandera, where the hyaline area is more elliptical supposedly. Copaxa lavandero hidalgensis is apparently from the state of Hildago in Mexico. Not much is known about it except that it flies near the Carboneras and Hildago on higher altitudes. Otherwise there is very little information. Copaxa lavandero jaliscensis is from the Mexican state of Jalisco and maybe also Oaxaca. It is found on medium to higher level elevations. They seem to differ most from Copaxa lavandera in that Lavandero jaliscensis have a slightly irregular angulate line on their wings. And I am talking about the antemedial line, while that of Lavandera is slightly outwardly produced just below the costa and then runs almost straight to the inner margin. The outer black ring around the hindwing ocellus seems the darkest, thickest and most complete in Lavandero jaliscensis. Copaxa lavandero hondurensis is from Lempira, Honduras. There seems to be a heavier suffusion of small black dots near the four-ring apex in Lavandero hondurensis than is found in all the other species, and the ocelli seem to be somewhat larger than in other similar species. And then finally we have our winner, the species we supposedly raised today, Copaxa parvohidalgensis. Some of these recently described species may require DNA analysis to distinguish them from other, better known species. So, are all these newly named moths their own separate species or not? They definitely seem to be distinct in some ways. However, looking distinct is not enough to warrant them being their own species. So why is it controversial? The reason for that is that many of these species, also the Brechlin and Meister species, have been described based on differences in their DNA only. In fact, many of these species are simply synonyms of old species that were already known to science for a long time. However, due to differences in their DNA in various geographical locations, different populations of these species have now been established as new species, based on difference in their DNA only in some cases. This is controversial because in the past, new species and subspecies were usually defined by their ecology, their appearance and morphology only. Many of these Brechlin and Meister species cannot be identified by their appearance or morphology in any way. They have to be DNA tested, as the difference between them is only in their DNA. So what is a species? The truth is nobody really knows. Charles Darwin himself once said, "I look at the term species as one arbitrarily given for the sake of convenience to a set of individuals loosely resembling each other." End quote. Of course, a lion clearly is not a zebra. But if you look at insects, the boundary line between different species is not so well defined. In many cases, evolutionary lineages of butterflies and moths have very subtly diverged in many geographical areas, resulting in differences in appearance or lifestyle. Usually, if two populations have diverged so much that they are unable to produce fertile offspring, they are regarded as different species. For this reason, genitalia have been an important point in the past, for Lepidoptera have complicated genitalia that fit together, almost like puzzle pieces. Species with different shaped genitalia will fail this lock-key mechanism and will be unable to pair with each other. In some cases, they can pair, but produce infertile hybrids. When two lineages do not produce fertile offspring that reproduces in the wild, most of the time we call them different species. And if they can still reproduce, they are still vastly different in ecology or appearance. We call them subspecies. Generally, if you ask a biologist what is a species, they will answer with a group of living organisms consisting of similar individuals capable of exchanging genes or interbreeding. That sounds like a broad definition because it is. There is no clear definition of what is a species or not. Some species do not exchange genes or interbreed at all. Microorganisms such as bacteria, for example, or others that reproduce asexually. And some organisms appear to be the same species on the surface level, but actually consist of multiple groups of individuals that reproduce in their own unique ways and are not compatible with each other, such as sexually and asexually reproducing dandelions, or Taxaricum, that have mutated to have diploid, triploid or tetraploid groups of individuals that are not even compatible with each other, But to us, the dandelions in our garden appear to be the same thing, while in reality many of them are incompatible with each other and have their unique evolutionary lineages. We are going hard in this video. So what could be some of these species barriers if we are talking about moths? Well, anything that causes reproductive incompatibility. Earlier, I've already mentioned moth genitals and the weird shapes and forms that they have. Entomologists actually study genitals a lot because it tells us a lot about how compatible two species are when it comes to making offspring. But also difference in flight time or habitat. If one species flies at night and the other flies during the day, this could also be a reproductive barrier. Or when species use slightly different pheromones, that makes them less attracted to each other. Or of course geographical isolation, when two populations are isolated from each other, and then yes, it is also evidence of them being unable to make fertile offspring in a natural situation. And of course DNA. Important is that all these forms of evidence and data should be combined and studied together, in conjunction. Neither of any of these things should be solely used to describe a species to the exclusion of other data types. Ladies and gentlemen, today I am going deep. I'm a YouTuber that normally talks about moths in a superficial way. I don't like to make things too complicated for my audience. But today I'm getting real technical. Hope you can follow it. DNA sequences from the common barcoding gene, cytochrome C oxidase subunit 1, or CO1, are nowadays an essential tool when describing new animal species. They can speed up the discovery of difficult to recognize cryptic species. Also, they provide a more objective way to species delimitation. However, it is important to interpret and use DNA in conjunction with other data. Scientifically, a key problem of the Brechtlein and Meister mythology, in my opinion, is over-reliance on mitochondrial DNA to the exclusion of all other data types. While mitochondrial DNA can help reveal historical evolutionary lineages, its clonal and matrilinear mode of inheritance precludes the discovery of introgression and admixture between populations. Moreover, as a result of processes such as introgression or incomplete lineage sorting, mitochondrial DNA may follow an evolutionary trajectory that does not reflect the evolutionary history of the associated organismal lineages, a phenomenon variously known as cytonuclear or mitonuclear discordance. Or in normal human language, for my fans who are not this deep, mitochondrial DNA is inherited from the mother and clonal in nature, and thus it does not tell us much about the transfer of genetic information from one species or one population of moths to another. To properly identify different species, it's important to inspect, control or check the mixing of genes between newly forming species. A key part of this process is using methods that combine various types of evidence to test whether groups are truly separate species. These approaches help scientists determine where the boundaries between species lie. There are numerous examples in the literature where more integrative analysis have shown mitochondrial DNA phylogeographically phylogeography, with my accent it's difficult to say phylogeography, to be misleading by inflating the number of potential species. Describing new species solely based on mitochondrial divergence is inappropriate and in my opinion may even be considered scientific malpractice. Or again, to put it into simpler terms for people who can't follow, remember when I mentioned DNA, genitalia, flight times, reproductive incompatibility and other criteria that could make two populations separate species? Well, most of that is not taken into account enough in favor of an over-reliance on DNA. This is a problem, because if this trend persists, it will become increasingly difficult to identify any species at all without doing a DNA test, overcomplicating the process and hindering the work of other taxonomists or entomologists, while the biology/ecology of these species groups still remains nearly identical. This can obstruct future research and adequate protection measures that are taken to protect moth or butterfly species from their own extinction. Governments often make the mistake of focusing their conservation work on a single species that is threatened. For example, take a rare and protected swallowtail butterfly, Papilio chicae. Efforts are being made to preserve them. However, Papilio hermeli is not protected. If it's not considered the same, then it's not even protected under CITES. This is a problem because arguably Papilio hermeli and chica could be the same butterfly species. It is even unclear if hermeli is just a subspecies of Papilio chica. They both share the same habitats and host plants, have identical genitalia, occur on the same island. The only difference between chica and hermeli is on the underside of the forewing and a slightly different geographical distribution. Most people consider them to be the same species even. But for protection and conservation it makes a world of difference, because one is protected and one is not. Strong opinion alert, but I personally regard most of this as a form of taxonomic vandalism. I'm sorry if you are listening to this Mr. Meister or Brechlin, or affiliated researchers. No hard feelings. But it is what it is, in my opinion. In my personal opinion. To me, all of this seems very rushed. Or senseless. And has needlessly overcomplicated taxonomy. Some genera have nearly been tripled or quadrupled in size based on DNA alone. Maybe someday I will change my mind. Maybe someday evidence will emerge that supports the fact that many of these CO1-based species are in fact more different from each other than we thought. However, I can also not deny that they have found many legitimately new species. So in reality, their work should be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. In the end of the day, however, to me, it does seem just senseless to describe tons and tons of species on a yearly basis, using this same very low effort method, effectively putting a higher priority on giving these insects a name than figuring them out as species. However, a species being described by Brechlin and Meister does not automatically make it invalid. Some are honestly legit new species. Although it does not automatically make them true species either, even if they have been described. Many of them have been reversed or synonymized because of the poor quality of the work. Try to find the original species description and read it for yourself and form your own conclusion. It would be unscientific to reject evidence just because the author is known to fabricate it. Almost as unscientific as publishing papers in your own journal. And being the same person who peer reviews them. But that's another story, or is it? Nope. The rearing of the moth in this video was something quite special, because it is one of the first confirmed rearings of a Copaxa parvohidalgensis type moth. While the future will reveal whether or not many of these Copaxa species deserve to have species or subspecies or just local variety status, breeding these moths in captivity actually does help. It reveals information about the early life stages. Thankfully, I am very opinionated and very outspoken in this debate. But at the same time, it looks like I am in a win-win situation here. Because if it is truly a new species, it means I am one of the first people to ever document the life cycle, which is a win for me. And if it turns out that it isn't, then some of my criticism here was valid. Well, actually, my criticism here is valid anyways, regardless of the taxonomic status of this species, since I never claimed that Copaxa parvohidalgensis is an invalid species. However, I am rather criticizing the method by some of which of these species have been described, which is honestly sloppy, by two people eager to slap their name on something. Even if the broken clock is right twice a day, it is still broken. Admittedly, the caterpillars of what we assume is Copaxa parvohidalgensis actually do look different from other populations. While that is not evidence that they are a distinct species, it is one of the many pieces of evidence that one could potentially gathered, and should have been gathered before it was named perhaps. The larvae have a more unusual, shady, almost blue to mint green color and red hairs on the tubercles. Compare this to Copaxa lavandera, which has a more lime green larva with purple tubercles. Notice how the patterns and stripes look different as well. To this date, much remains unknown about Copaxa parvohidalgensis, apart from the fact that this supposedly new species likes to hang out in the mountains of Hildago of Mexico. For example, we don't really know the food plant that it uses in the wild. If it's similar to Copaxa lavandera, then Lauracea plants could apply. In captivity, it was able to feed on oak tree. It is presumably capable of hibernation at gentle temperatures. Keep them frost-free if possible. It also seems rather continuously brooded in captivity if kept warm. They seem to grow better on evergreen oak tree in the final life stages. This YouTube channel is here to educate you about the realities of the situation. Thankfully, to the best of my ability of course. I'm only a human that is capable of making mistakes, but I do my best to read and educate myself before I talk about these subjects. If you have any disagreements or mistakes, leave a comment. Guys, please ignore the noise in the background. They are doing construction work. The noise pollution, it never stops. But I need to apologize to some of you guys because we raised a lot of moths in this episode. I think I raised like a dozen cocoons. Do you remember all those cocoons that I had? But in this video, I only showed you about 4 different moths. So what happened to all those other cocoons and all those other moths that I didn't show? Well, I had one huge problem during the making of this episode, guys. I was working a lot. I'm a part-time environmental science student, but I was also working 2 different jobs really during the making of this video. So I came home tired in the evening, too tired to make YouTube videos. I fell asleep on the couch or in my bed, and I woke up the next morning to get up early to go back to work. And the problem with moths and butterflies is they have a short life. So if you want to have good quality footage and document everything that happens, you also need a lot of free time. And this channel costs a lot of free time that I often cannot really afford to have. Because hey, I have to work. This channel is not enough to sustain me full time. But because of that, sometimes the quality of my videos can be affected by my real life obligations. Now some of you may be wondering, Bart works? Really? He doesn't sit on his fat ass posting moth videos all day? I do most of the time, but I still have jobs on the side very often. Now, I'm a big, strong, tall guy, so some of the things I've done over the years is I worked in warehouses, like night shift. I worked in factories, even on conveyor belts. You know, in storage rooms where people have to lift heavy stuff. I don't have much pictures or evidence of it because, to be honest, I'm not a YouTuber that films his daily life or private life, but here's some of the labor that I've done. Maybe I have some pictures of it. I don't have many pictures of it because it's work. Okay, it's not me being an influencer. I'm taking pictures at the workplace is usually not very tolerated. But I used to work in factories, warehouses. We had conveyor belts and sorting machines. It was very heavy and laborious work. And I have done this kind of work for many years in my life. It's very tough. So yes guys, from time to time I do hard work. That's how I afford my moths, right? I'm not living a life of luxury. I need to work for the things and the equipment that I have and the things I do and the insects that I show on YouTube. Thankfully, since recently my life has gotten more comfortable because I get hired for a lot of random things. For example, if people need an actor who is an entomologist or somebody who has a connection with moths and butterflies in a movie. I recently had to play in an art film and I got paid for it. Social media is a strange thing. Nowadays I even get asked for stuff like movies, films, and I even get to be an actor in them sometimes. Life takes strange turns. And yes, I get paid for it. Yeah, that also counts as a job. You would be surprised. Also, if they need butterflies or moths in commercials or on TV or in a series, I get hired sometimes to green screen the moths and butterflies. Let me show you. Copaxa working to pay the bills? Yeah. If you've ever seen a butterfly in a movie or a commercial, there's a chance that it's mine. I get hired to green screen them or bring them to a filming location, to shoot them for a movie or series. It's one of my jobs. Not just that, nowadays I get hired at events, really, if there's a special promotion. Recently they had a brand of gin that had a new flavor, and on the label there's butterflies and flowers, so they hired me to do a promotional event and even set up a mini butterfly house. It's true, I even get hired for international events sometimes. If there is a brand that wants to do a promotion and they want live butterflies at their event, they call me because they know I can do it legally and ethically. I can make people enthusiastic and talk about the insect passionately. And I get paid for it. My life is very unusual. So yeah, it's not all manual labor, although I am not afraid of getting my hands dirty and doing manual labor. Unfortunately, I'm also very clumsy, so I'm not very good at technical jobs. But the heavy lifting and carrying is a lot of stuff that I have done. Thankfully, I can also use my insect breeding talents to other uses. Since recently, I got hired in a laboratory. In a laboratory where they breed and study insects for biological control. Which means they're basically breeding insects, especially parasitoids, that target agricultural pests. And farmers, for example, or agricultural companies, especially those big glass houses, they buy parasitic wasps or flies that can get rid of the aphids, for example. So yeah, I've actually had entomology jobs as well. I've worked as an entomologist. Let me show you a laboratory I used to work in. It's true. I used to work in a laboratory that breeds insects. Oh wait, I still work here now I'm filming it. Interesting. I do have to say I am pretty lucky to get into this kind of work. As somebody who doesn't have a biology degree as of today. It's still my dream to get a degree though. It would allow people to take me more seriously as an entomologist, I guess. Yeah, laboratory breeding is also a thing. These kind of jobs can be hard to get because you need very specific credentials for them. And basically it's for the purpose of research and biocontrol. So never say that I'm a lazy YouTuber who never works. I've had millions of types of jobs. I just don't share all of them on YouTube. I'm not a YouTuber that films all of his personal life, of course. I talk about it sometimes, like right now, as a little treat. For those who really care. Just to be honest, my life is not that interesting. It's the moths that are interesting. But I do have a problem. Having to work does detract from the quality of my videos. And that is very unfortunate. The problem is YouTube absorbs from me a crazy amount of free time and resources that I really cannot afford to lose. Especially because of this. my YouTube channel is demonetized by YouTube themselves. That means if I upload a video, I don't make a single dollar from it. Zero. Nada. Nothing. I'm basically making all this content for free. And that's fine because I really enjoy doing so. I enjoy making videos. It's my passion. I'm really in my element when I do it. But at the same time, it means when life gets difficult and adult responsibilities are knocking on the door, sometimes I am too tired, exhausted, and overworked to make high quality videos. And sometimes because of that, I just forget to film certain moments because I don't have the time. I don't have the free time to sit here all day and show you every single moth, everything that happens. Sometimes I'm just at work and not there to see what happens. And that's very unfortunate. So I do want to say, guys, if you like my show, if you like my channel, if you appreciate what I am doing, I do have crowdfunding. It is called Patreon. Patreon is a crowdfunding platform where you can buy a subscription to my channel. It costs as little as $1. And basically those donations and the money that I make from people buying subscriptions to my channel helps me tremendously. I am a demonetized YouTuber that doesn't really make much money at all from his videos. And that's completely fine. I'm happy that way. I'm happy with the way my life is. But if I could make more people aware and just encourage people to subscribe to my Patreon or to donate to the show, it is very much appreciated because it gives me more free time to make more videos, right? So the quality of these videos will go up. The quantity of these videos will go up because I will have more financial freedom and more free time to make videos that you guys like to see. So it's a win-win situation, really. Also, if you subscribe to my Patreon, you can earn certain rewards as part of the loyalty program. Let me show you. If you are a member of my Patreon, you can earn rewards. These rewards include stickers, mugs, posters, t-shirts, cards, prints and more. Things that I have personally designed. Mini prints with some of my famous butterfly and moth pictures on them. The rewards vary with the tiers, and the higher the tier is that you subscribe to, the cooler the rewards will be. And in return you will be supporting my channel. Secondly, since recently I have an Etsy webshop, and on the webshop I am selling butterflies and moths who have died from old age. A lot of people ask me, Bart, what do you do with the insects when they grow too old? Do you throw them away? No, actually, since recently I am pinning and framing them and selling them to fans. So if you want to own a frame of butterflies and moths that's made by me myself, you can check out my Etsy webshop. Since recently I'm also making books, guides, selling postcards, specimens, and even mugs and stickers that I design. Let me show you some of the stuff I'm working on Etsy. And did you know that I have a web shop on Etsy? And that I sell ethically framed butterflies and moths. That means I use the individuals who have died of old age when I raise insects in captivity. But also I make book, postcards, stickers. I've honestly designed and written a lot of things. If you are interested in owning framed butterflies and moths that were not deliberately killed, or rare insects for your bug collection, then I highly urge you to check out my Etsy webshop. You will be able to order awesome stuff from yourself that I have personally designed. And in return, you are supporting my channel. And it's only because of my loyal patrons and the people who donate to my channel that I am still here, still making more videos. It's because of the support of my community that I can afford to do this and put so much passion, love and free time in all of this. And for that I am really grateful. If you are new on my channel and you want to learn more about moths and how to breed them, consider becoming a member. You'll get a lot of benefits like participate in polls, FHQ videos that I do sometimes when I feel like it, a couple of times per year, and also rewards. So now I'm gonna play the credits. The credits have the names of all my patrons. And it's gonna show you a list of all the people who helped me make these videos. And I hope to catch you in the next one, because I am working on some real rare species behind the scenes. Ciao, ciao.